Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, you gotta stop penetrating consciousness. That is impossible to do. You cannot penetrate consciousness. The spiritual journey isn't about that. That is the illusion of the ego self. The spiritual journey, the enlightenment journey, is about coming to face with the consciousness. When one is able to get there, now that's the end of the spiritual seeking. That's the end of the inward journey, and that brings the non conflicting uh, life, where the outer journey becomes um, easy. It becomes easy, it becomes non conflicting, it becomes fearless because the inward journey makes you understand nature, makes you understand mind thoroughly. There is a true recognition of the pattern world, how to how to play with the pattern. So in that sense, life becomes non-conflicting and easy. Again, if you are trying to penetrate consciousness in your meditation practice, then that's the ego trip. Your ego is playing the game. And your ego is playing the game because you don't know what you're doing. That's the scenario. You're just following the crowd. Basically, the crowd is doing the same thing, and you're also doing the same thing, thinking that the approach will eventually lead you to break all barriers. The reason your meditation is failing is because your meditation is outward journey. Even the practice that you think is inward is still an outward. Let me tell you why your meditation is outward movement. It's outward because you invite techniques and you focus on the technique. Like you visualize, that is a technique. Your awareness is focused on the visualization. So it's outwardly. The journey towards a truth, a true freedom, is about recognizing the nature of the consciousness and resting as consciousness, because that's who you are. So when you visualize, your awareness, your consciousness is being conscious of the visualization. Same way, when you focus on the breath, focus on the mental focal point, it's all outwardly. So when the meditation is outwardly, how can you figure out the true nature of yourself, which is the consciousness? You are focused on the coloring on the consciousness rather than focusing on how to empty to get to the consciousness. The journey is about removing all the colors to get to the truth, which is the consciousness. When you are meditating, your focus is on something, isn't it? It's not on you. Yes, the visualization, the focal point is happening in you, But that is again outwardly. And that's the reason you're failing in your meditation work. If you're truly meditating, it won't take that long to figure out the plain sight truth. When you focus intensely on the focal point, mental focal point, or or your breath or your body, when the focus is so intense, then there's that hyperventilation happens, and then there's a crazy mystical experience, and we think that that's the way to get to the truth, because this are the information available in the world. Mystical experience is the way to freedom, but that is not true. Mystical experience is happening on the consciousness. Consciousness allows you to be conscious of those experiences. So it's the layers that is happening on the consciousness. And again, we are forgetting that it's about removing all the experience from the consciousness so that we can see the nature of the consciousness. So, your intense focus on those things, those techniques are the example of trying to penetrate consciousness. But you can't. You got to give up that, because that is just a waste of time. Waste of time. You must realize that when you are meditating, your awareness is present of what you are meditating on. So stop inviting the layers and meditate on the layers. And that's why I'm saying that meditating on the layers is ignoring yourself and your issues, your fear, your conflict, your struggle. Applying the techniques and meditating on the technique is to forget, to ignore the issue that is ongoing, the fear that is resurfacing. Technical meditation only helps you to anchor. That's it. But it doesn't dissolve your fear from your life. Doesn't dissolve the mental fluctuation, the emotional fluctuation. Yes, the meditation is helping you to be center in the world. But don't you feel it's forceful to be center in the world, in life? It shouldn't be forceful. It should be natural. But it's not natural right now. Why? Because the truth is missing. You haven't seen the truth of who you are. When the truth is missing, we naturally latch onto things. And that latching onto things is also what? The sign of fear. Sign of fear. So, the journey towards the truth is about seeing the plain sight truth, and that truth is not an experience and it's not an idea. It exists, but it's not an idea or experience or visualization. Truth is the background that allows the ideas to appear and disappear, the experience to appear and disappear, the visual effect to appear and disappear. The journey is about figuring out the background, not the layers that appears on the consciousness. If you are focused on the layers, you are trying to penetrate consciousness, and that is a never-ending game, the practice that not lead you to dissolve the fear. So you gotta again recognize that when you are meditating, your awareness is present of what you are meditating. So you need to take the seat of that, take the seat of the consciousness, take the seat of the awareness. Be that. But right now you're not able to be that because of the conditioning. Life is already conditioned with patterns that are mental patterns, emotional patterns, psychological patterns. Life is basically that. And because of that, that is our root of survival. There is a positivity and negativity. We are holding on to the positivity and we are prolonging our life from that. But that itself is the false. That is simply the mind, and when it comes to spiritual freedom, mind is false. Mind is an illusion. Holding on to the mind, trying to be free from the mind is contradiction. So, and also trying to look for the answer in the mind to be free is 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 looking for the false and trying to make that as true. Contradiction. So it's about dissolving the mind. When you're able to examine the mind and see the nature of the mind, and from that process, the mental fluctuation, the emotional fluctuation cease itself. But to seize it, you have to go all the way in dismantling the mind until the truth is seen. When the truth is seen, there's ease in you, and there's ease in you when you're participating in the world. But right now, that's not the scenario. Right now, all is there is fear. And fear is making you move in a way that the fear is making you struggle. Fear is making you go through more further conflict. That's life right now, isn't it? Meditation does work to make yourself free from inner conflict and fear, free from your struggle. But you need to know what you need to meditate on. You know, you need to meditate on yourself and meditate on the stuff that is breaking your flow, breaking your uh, sense of peace. So what are the things that is fluctuating you? You need to meditate on that. That means you have to meditate on that and trace it backward, tracing your struggle backward to figure out the root cause of the struggle or root cause of the fear is meditation. You are meditating on the mind in dismantling or tracing to figure out the root. And once the root is seen, then you have to meditate on dismantling the root as well. And that's the way to go to the no mind. And this is the way to be thorough of your mind. And when you are thorough, that's the preparation. And that's where you need to ask yourself, who am I? When you ask yourself, who am I? And that's where this question creates a real breakthrough, real shift. That's where there is a checkmate experience in your spiritual journey. You will come to the point of duh. There is no more move left. But to get to this point, you have to dismantle. Dismantle the mind. That's meditation. Not meditating on the layers that you invite and focus on that. That is a stagnation. That's not a meditation. Meditation means to flow. But the spiritual meditation, spiritual freedom meditation is about the flow inward, backward towards the truth. So when you are meditating on a technique, that is a wall. You're stagnating yourself not to go anywhere. Focusing on the technique and prolonging the technique leads you nowhere. That's why you are nowhere close to the truth. So how to get to the close to the truth and eventually see the truth is self-inquiry. Never ignore your struggle. Never ignore your fear. When the struggle, the fear, the conflict is there, you trace it back. Tracing it back is the meditation that will help you to be from all mental limitation and as well as the physical limitation, because the mind is a source of struggle pretty much. So don't try to penetrate consciousness. You cannot. The only ego thinks it can, but it cannot in a realistic view. It cannot. So self-inquiry is freedom, my friend. So focus right, meditate right, and your reorientation with the right reference will not fail you if you work on yourself. Okay, I hope this video makes sense to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.